say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think of one point where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shoot and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party. You got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. And you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. And you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Want somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy. Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and hold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening. Wednesday the 12th. Sorry, I'm just trying to remove this. Start again. A very, very good evening. Wednesday the 12th of February 2025. My second broadcast today. So thank you for those of you who joined me this morning, and those of you who've joined me again. Well, you're definitely one for punishment, aren't you? This is the live watch along for this evening's extraordinary council meeting. It's due to start in just over 7 minutes. I think I've got everything set up. I managed to find the link. I've pressed all the buttons I need to do, so I am ready for this. These meetings have been explosive. The last full council meeting saw Eddie Moores, the deputy mayor, instruct the interim leader of the Conservative group, Pam Burnham, to withdraw her remarks referencing Pakistani in the Pakistani Rape Gangs. And he was there because Councillor Zahid Chauhan wasn't there. So the vote, if it goes against us, I imagine it'll go 31-29, and that's if Dr. Zahid Chauhan is there. He has been off for some time because first of all, his wife died tragically. I went to the funeral. She's a mother, she's got children. And his daughter, from what I hear, broke her leg. So he's dropped everything and he's looking after his children. So let's see if he is at the meeting. We'll know if he chairs the meeting. If he's not, Labour will be one down. So I'm just putting up some hellos. Labour will be one down, and it will be maybe 30-29, and that's if the 4 independents vote with Labour. Now, we have exposed what's going on as an attempt to continue the cover up. The 4 independents to look out for are Brian Hoban, Mark Hints, Neil Hindle, and of course Lisa Navesey. Now, if they vote with Labour, they will have completely betrayed every working class child in this town who has either been a victim, a survivor, or is in any way connected, because what they're attempting to do, if you went through my analysis I shared earlier, the amendment that the Labour Party have got, which is fronted by these 2 independents, is to say, yes, we'll carry on in the inquiry, and then after the inquiry finds its results, we'll then use that information to lobby the government for a national inquiry. It's outrageous. It's an ongoing attempt at the cover-up. My information, and again, by now you should understand that my information comes from within the council and from sources within the council. My information is and has been that the Labour group were waiting on the instructions of Jim McMahon, the MP, who's neck deep in the cover-up, as to how they should proceed. And it seems they want to proceed by trying to kick this into the long grass. And the hope is we will go away, or someone will kill me, or I'll be put in prison. It's as simple as that. They know once they get rid of me, then this campaign dies. It ends. Because you've all seen the media bandwagon, how it comes and goes. Well, someone's doing the work in the background all the time. And one of those someones for the last 6 years has been me. So, if you find value, I am 100% dependent on your goodwill, your generosity. Sign up to the newsletter. I think 6 people, when I last looked, 6 people had signed up today to the newsletter. Our numbers need to be in and around at least the 10,000 mark for us to be taken seriously. We're nowhere near. Now, I know thousands of you watch this content. I've seen thousands of you watch this content. I'm looking to the left, I can see the numbers. Not just this transmission, but what went out this afternoon. So please, if you find value, sign up to the newsletter. You don't have to pay. It's completely free. But if you can afford to do so, take out a subscription. It's either 75 pence a week, pennies, 75 pence a week, or you can just pay £30 in one go. And if you don't want to do that, there's a link to buy me a coffee and a PayPal link. So please, without your help, my work ends, this work ends, and we go back to how things were. If you're watching this, and thank you, Rose, for the super chat. If you're watching this and it's something, I know I appreciate it's easier. YouTube has made it easier. You can just press a super chat, and I'm also grateful if any of you do that. My intention is to let the council meeting run. I'll put it on a full screen and you'll be able to hear it. And if any chaos happens and it's paused, or if there's a lull, then I will talk and I will fill you in on what's going on. So that is where I am up to. I ask everyone to push. Hi, Julie. Julie's here again. Glutton for punishment is Julie. Has been with me from pretty much the beginning, haven't you, Julie? And I'm not sure where Gary is. Gary's normally here. I know he's not at the council meetings because he's banned from the council meetings. Good evening, Sally Ann. Perfect. I'm so pleased to see so many of you here. So, it's an extraordinary council meeting. Here it is. I knew it was banned from the council meetings. Couldn't keep his gob shut, so when the councillor started shouting at him, he started shouting back. A good evening, mate. How are you? I brought snacks. How did you get banned? What did you do? And David's an Oldham Athletic football fan. I'm missing the Merseyside derby to be sat here with you. Well, I'll be missing at least the first half, I think. So oh wow. Thank you so much. You told Hinsey it was finished. Oh. So, in all seriousness, it said it started, but it's not started on mine. If I'm missing it, some of you have got this on, please say, maybe I think it started as in the stream started, but no one's walked in yet. In all seriousness, I stood next to Markins at his election meetings, trying to raise his profile. I gave him a platform. I gave Brian Hoban a platform. I helped elect these people. I shaped the campaigns. I informed the literature. I told them what to do. And what these individuals have done, forget to me, what these individuals have done, not just to the town, but to the entire country, is disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I think, Graham, those of you who followed the council meetings, I mean, you're new to this, but... and he's, sorry, mate, I missed your... No samosas, mate. No samosas. Not yet. Thank you. I can't believe what they've done. They would have been legends. As members of the community who came forward, took out senior politicians, stood on a mandate to help clean up the town and bring to justice those who are complicit in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. And at the first opportunity, they're in bed with the Labour Party, but not just in bed with the Labour Party, they're in bed with a Labour Party politician called Arud Shah, who is neck deep in gangster, organised crime relationships, endorsements. It's unbelievable. Shameless. Here they come. Let's bring it on. Dr. Chauhan's here, so they're worried straight away. They brought Dr. Chauhan back. That means they're worried. They brought him back for the vote. Well, there was Eddie
May I
Moores.
welcome you to the two extraordinary meetings of the Council this evening. To be clear, there are two separate meetings. The first meeting relates to a request for a national public inquiry to investigate child sexual exploitation. And second relates to the request for Oldham Borough Council to withdraw from Places for Everyone. At the conclusion of the first meeting, there will be a short break before the beginning of the second meeting. May I take this opportunity to remind councillors and members of the public that meeting will be streamed live on a webcast from the Council's website. The Council has a commitment to conduct its full Council business in an environment that is welcoming, secure, and safe for members, employees, and visitors. It is important that meetings are conducted in a safe and fair manner. All persons present at meetings should be treated with courtesy and respect. This includes members of public, elected members, employees, and visitors. Behavior, language, and actions that impact public
Oh, there's Eddie Moores.
cause disruption or adjournment to the course of the business at the meetings are not acceptable. Members of the public are asked to note the public meeting protocol, which is also available on the Council's website, and elected members are reminded to note the elected member protocol of the Members' Code of Conduct, which provides details of the expected principles of behavior. I should advise Council that I have convened this extraordinary meeting under paragraph 3.1b of the Council Procedure Rule as set out at Part 4A of the Council's Constitution. The first meeting has been called to receive and consider the motion that is set out as, on the agenda and summons for this meeting that was published last week. Therefore, no business other than the specified in the agenda and summons to this meeting may be considered. Item 1, apologies for absence. I have apology from Councillor Malik. Any other apologies?
So one Labour Party councillor not there. That's why he's been dragged out.
Are there any declarations of interest from members in respect of matters to be determined by the Council at this meeting? Thank you. Request for item 3, request for the National Public Inquiry, the investigation that investigates the scourge of child sexual exploitation. I call on Councillor Quick to move and Councillor Arnott to second the motion. You have 4 minutes to move and 4 minutes to second the motion. Councillor Quick.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Mayor. I think for those not in the chamber, because they're the ones that essentially are who matter in this. It has been a culmination of years of trying and years of years of pushing from people, members of the public, survivors and others who have been demonised, accused of conspiracy theorists, making up lies, and of course it's all something that those who have gone out there and spoken about and done so bravely have been silenced. It isn't something I think anyone can quantify as to what harm these evil rape gangs have caused, because it's now proving through evidence and testimony that's coming out now, thanks to its profile being raised through media outlets such as GB News, through online forums and blogs, and certainly from Elon Musk, who basically did more in one tweet than any of the local press did in the past decade. And it's important to remember that this national public inquiry that we are trying to call for is to right an incredible wrong, because it's becoming abundantly clear that people have been ignored, crimes have been ignored, people have covered up these crimes, and it's about time that the lid was lifted on this disaster, a national scandal of children, young women, young boys who have been abused. Abused on what can only be described in some of the most evil acts that have not been seen for probably since at least wartime, and if not before. And I think we should give them, brave survivors, give those who have fought so bravely for this a voice. Because we have seen in Rotherham how public officials covered it up, council officers covered it up, the police covered it up. You cannot deny this anymore. It's out there. And the more it's denied, the more it's delayed, the more this goes on, the more we debate this, we are now kicking the can down the road through time. And the National Public Inquiry, with the proper statutory powers, is what is essentially needed. Because nobody can escape the lens and the investigation and the eyes of any investigation then. Because you will be held to account. No matter who you are, no matter where you were at the time, you will be held to account. And that is why a National Public Inquiry is needed. It isn't because of who was in government at the time. There was failures from my party, there was failures from the Labour Party, there was failures from all parties. But now is the time for us to grasp that nettle and settle this matter and get justice for those who need it. Because we cannot allow justice to be delayed and if justice to be denied. The longer we have wait on this matter, the longer it will be before those who have called for this will be around. And that is a sad fact. Because many of these people who committed these crimes have essentially got away with it for years. And unfortunately, lessons haven't been learnt. No matter how many reviews or small investigations we've had, whether it be the Greater Manchester review into Oldham, which was nothing more than a whitewash. It was a whitewash, and despite what's been said in the press, it didn't get to the root cause of what happened.
Do you want to?
You want to conclude, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, please.
My apologies. And I think that this is why a national public inquiry is needed. Not because of me personally, not because of my party, but because it's the right thing to do. And please support our motion tonight.
Thank you. You will have opportunities to speak again. Concerner, do you wish to second it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rise to second the motion and support the points that Councillor Quigg has made. The scourge of child sexual exploitation has hung over this borough for far too long. It won't go away. We must face harsh and unpleasant realities, and like all problems, we can only fix them when we accept that there is a problem and what that problem is, however difficult that may be. We have failed, and we have failed many times. We have allowed cultural sensitivities to cloud our judgment and actions. Both the Council and Greater Manchester Police have failed in their duty, which allowed a vile rapist to be employed by the Council in a public-facing role for 18 years. We have not investigated fully, with urgency and vigour, repeated and desperate concerns raised around shisha bars, taxi firms and children's homes. We have failed to understand the scale of abuse taking place on our doorstep and its links with neighbouring towns. We have been blinkered and we have been naive. We have failed to act against police officers, council officers, politicians or others where their actions or lack of them have clearly led to these horrific abuses continuing for years. We have failed to listen to the public when they have called for and campaigned for action. We have attacked them as far-right agitators, conspiracy theorists, criminals, racists, and worse. We have accused politicians in this chamber of playing politics when they have refused to be silenced and let this issue be brushed under the carpet. We have voted down repeated requests between 2020 and 2024 for inquiries of different kinds. There is more, so much more, but now we must be prepared to stand up and face the full reality, the gravity of the situation and the unspeakable truths about what has happened and is still happening. We have a duty to the survivors, to those who have not yet come forward to tell their story, and to those who will never come forward. We have a duty to the decent, law-abiding members of the community these perpetrators lived in, the vast majority of them who are appalled by their actions. We have a duty to decent, hard-working, conscientious council officers and police officers. As members of this chamber, we have a duty to seek the most robust, far-reaching and forensic statutory inquiry possible to get to the very heart of this appalling matter, and we must be seen to do so. The public expects it, and they have every right to. A local review, however it's framed, is not enough. While I agree that any inquiry must be survivor-led, it must also be wide-ranging and have the ability to go wherever the evidence takes it. Not only to look at the terrible crimes, but the circumstances that allowed them to take place. The responses, or lack of them, from any and all agencies, and importantly, any evidence of actions either directly or indirectly intended to suppress, conceal, or censor by this council, its officers, Greater Manchester Police, or the press. We must seek to understand the scale of the CSE issue and appreciate that this has taken place and is taking place in many other villages, towns and cities across this country. I'm nearly done. I urge members to support this motion and join other local councils in the borough in demanding a national public inquiry. It's the right thing to do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have 3 amendments received to this motion, and they have been considered in order they were received. After consideration of each amendment, there will be a vote, and if any of the amendments are carried, then that particular amendment will become the substantive motion as amended, and the mover of the approved amendment will then have the right of reply to any subsequent amendments debate. So Amendment 1, I call upon Councillor Al-Hamdani to move and Councillor Bishop to second the amendment.
Too scared to say Pakistani. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you.
Look at his
and for your words.
LGBT whatever Leonard has got.
To put forward an amendment on, and it was a lot of consideration went into exactly what we were trying to achieve by doing that. And it's not particularly an easy thing to speak on. I am not a survivor. My voice is not the important one. But I think it's important for people who aren't survivors to stand up and to try and be honest and considered and give the support that is needed for people who are in that position. I think one of the things that we were trying to do with this amendment is not to delete too much.
Wow.
So
Wow.
There's been so many suggestions of things being covered up, and whether your intention is just to try and take the debate somewhere else, I think it was really important that we actually left in as much as we could to the motion to get that across, that we weren't trying to say this is not this or this is not that, that So the level of rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault in this country is frightening. 1 in 4 women over the age of 16.
We're not here for girls over 16.
1 in 18 men. And so taking anything out...
We're not here for that.
...doesn't refer to that...
We're not here for that.
...runs the risk...
You took out the word Pakistani.
...of doing something...
You took out the word Pakistani.
Now, we have changed some of the language, and we haven't repeated...
Liar! You took out the word Pakistani.
...not to go back to it.
You took out the word Pakistani.
And that's for a couple of reasons. One, if you are a survivor of this, and we took advice from people who are survivors, that going over in detail...
You took out the word Pakistani.
That criminality and what
you tried to hide that these were racially motivated crimes, Hamdani.
So by doing that, and I'm sure it's not the intent, but the effect is to hurt people again and to make them experience things that no
Nonsense.
They should never have had to experience.
Nonsense. The survivors tell us. The survivors tell us it matters that they were victims of racially motivated crimes. The survivors tell us.
It's important that this doesn't get hidden. And one of the things that we've tried to do is...
We are trying to hide it.
On Oldham.
You're trying to hide it. Pakistani men gang rape children in Oldham.
The initial review didn't work was it didn't have a statutory nature. And that was what survivors asked us to put in. And so that's the reason for that specific change.
Liar!
Saying it has to be on a statutory footing. A national public inquiry...
How many survivors did you speak to, Hamdani? How many survivors?
Brilliant. I never object to it. But as somebody said to myself and Helen when we were working on this, Oldham should not be a paragraph in somebody else's report.
No one said Oldham's going to be a paragraph. Liar! Liar! We've been fighting. You haven't. No one said Oldham's going to be a paragraph. Oldham was leading it. Oldham is leading it.
There needs to be a specific local investigation. I'm coming to the end. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope that this debate is constructive, and I hope that people can see it in themselves to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bishop.
Here she is.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Helen Bishop. Are you...
Never mind.
Can you handle the truth, Helen? Another one with the lanyard on.
This amendment is listen again to the statements read out at the last full meeting
No.
on behalf of survivors.
No.
What stood out is that they were sick of their voices being ignored and of being used as pawns in a political game. One of the key failings of the original motion is not to request, once more, a statutory inquiry into child sexual exploitation in Oldham, which would mandate full cooperations from organisations such as GMP and the Council. This amendment seeks to take care of that, making it the most important change to it. Without it, the motion is pointless, irrelevant political opportunism. No stone should be left unturned, and the insistence on a statutory inquiry informed and led by survivors and their independent representatives is paramount. I repeat the point I made the last time I spoke on this subject in the Chamber. Politicians and political activists alike need to step away from this issue.
No chance! Get stuffed! Get stuffed! Get stuffed, Bishop!
Those who are independently trained, qualified and experienced.
We're not going anywhere, Helen Bishop. We're not going anywhere.
Otherwise, they are always going to be impacted by political or institutional bias.
Get stuffed, Bishop.
Judge-led, statutory and relentless in its pursuit of the truth. And to this end, victims and survivors are still being let down to this day. The amendment that we have proposed to this motion has not changed the substantive part of it, but strengthened it by requesting an
You've hidden the Pakistani. You've hidden the racists.
And non-recent CSE cases in Oldham. It seeks to increase its likelihood of success and achieve cross-party support to get it over the line. I can only hope that that plea is heard and achieved, because constantly trawling over this is extremely traumatising for survivors, as they have made clear. Women and girls are the experts on the experiences of women and girls, so why are they constantly being spoken for and spoken over?
Shut up!
Why is it that most people speaking on this subject at the moment are men?
Oh, fuck off! Men! Men!
Do we not know what we are talking about?
Fuck off!
I know the answer, and so will most of the women in here.
Fuck off!
When
Making
we
it
speak,
misogynist.
we'll be shouted down
Fuck
and told
off!
we're wrong. We don't understand the dangers facing working class girls and women, despite being one. It appears that yet again, men know more about being women than we do.
Oh, it's about men now.
And yet no one will see the irony of that, because these oppressive sort of patriarchal practices.
Oh, patriarchal practices. We're misogynists.
Let alone others. The amendment acknowledges the fact that in the past, professionals who had a duty of care didn't act because of an ill-conceived notion that they may face accusations of racism. This is unequivocally wrong, and all allegations should follow the same procedures regardless of the background of the accused. But I will not let young people down by allowing them to step out into the world thinking that the only people they need to look out for are taxi drivers or takeaway owners, specifically of Pakistani heritage. It gives them a false sense of security and leaves them vulnerable to the prevalence of abuse by men of other demographics.
No, it doesn't.
As practitioners, people should be reporting all signs or disclosures of grooming and abuse regardless of the demographic of the offender. But whilst it is important to acknowledge the failings in Rotherham, we do victims and survivors a massive injustice by targeting just one small part of the demographic that poses a risk. If we are going to tackle this problem, then the first step is for men to stop assuming they speak for women and girls and start listening. Many times I've been told that I've got too much to say for myself as a woman, whilst women approach me silently in the background to say thank you because they dare speak up and face the same wrath. I say to those women, stand up and be counted, and to the men and their enablers that jeer from the sidelines and throw insults when we dare to stand up and speak for ourselves and others, sort yourselves out. This leads me to my other concern, that the sole focus in the media narrative is on young white girls who, whilst obviously important, are not the only victims, of this sort of abuse, which is exactly why an examination of all the factors involved needs to take place. I am sure there are black, Asian and other ethnic minority girls and boys who have been victims of CSE. Who is speaking up for them? I'd like people in this chamber to commit to elevating and amplifying the voices of working class girls and women by not talking over them or for them, but by allowing them the space to express their own experiences and bring forward the actions that they want, and starting to discuss how we can actively reduce the dangers they face. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any member wish to speak on this matter? I have Councillor Hinz indicated.
Thank
Mincy
you,
boy.
Mr. Mayor.
Is he sober?
I'd like to acknowledge and thank the respectful tone of the council in the chamber today. I think that's to be commended. We've had many a scene in here which has brought some disrespect to us, but I think the manner of this debate is very, very good. First of all, I'd like to pay tribute to the survivors, the ones who are with us today.
Oh, here we go, hiding behind the survivors. Hiding behind the survivors. You scumbag. Hiding behind the survivors. There you go, there's a survivor.
Sorry, may I request, may I please
That's a survivor saying Mark is a liar.
I continue. By those still... Can I continue, please? And by those who are still yet to come forward. But the abuse still goes on in many respects. By those seeking to make political recognition and gain out of this sort of subject. And more importantly, and distastefully in my view, those who are seeking financial gain. Either through online grifting or through
online grifting.
Or through companies like Rise 2010.
Oh, here we go.
CIC.
Here we go.
However, moving on.
Here we
go.
go.
The principle of a national inquiry is a valid one, and it's one we support, but not at the cost of the local one everyone in this chamber fought for to achieve. A national inquiry
didn't. You're a liar.
with full statutory powers will only be effective with the outcomes and findings of local ones.
No, it won't.
Claims that this kicks the subject into the long grass are unfounded.
Hey,
Rather, this approach
sure,
local
you voted this scumbag in.
national accountability. I fully respect the Liberal Democrat amendment, and I think it covers a lot of areas that we seek to support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. No other member have indicated they wish to speak. Councillor Quigg, do you have right of reply?
Yeah, I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor, given the timings of the meeting. The Liberal Democrat amendment, Councillor Bishop, I can't help being a bloke. That's unfortunate, by biological right of birth, so unfortunately I can't quite help that. But to be more serious, I understand what you're saying, that survivors do feel drowned out, but that shouldn't prevent people from speaking on matters such as this, because if it was left to that, we wouldn't be discussing it at all, because this chamber was all too ready not to discuss it, and it should have dealt with this matter back in 2019 when it had the opportunity to do so, not in 2025. So in that regard, we are unfortunately where we are. But in terms of the amendment, and while I respect the additions to the amendment, I do have problems with quotes from Hansard being amended to say things that the person or persons, in this case the Shadow Home Secretary and the Home Secretary, have said or not said. They said this at the dispatch box in the mother of all parliaments, an opportunity where many people in other countries, in other towns and other cities have not had the opportunity to do so. And we discuss things in chambers and debating chambers, no matter how uncomfortable they may be, but they are factual. These things happened. We have been too squeamish in not being forthright with the public. We have had survivors ignored, whistleblowers ignored, members of the public ignored, decent public servants ignored. This is why we are where we are. And I'm sorry, but to start mending things within the amendment in such a way that takes away from it, I struggle on that part, because to me it could have added and done more in the same vein that the Oldham Group's amendment has done. It's completely added to it and strengthened it, I would say. But this amendment hasn't strengthened it, as much as there are valid points in it. And I'm sorry to say, it does give me great concern when we are essentially knowingly changing what people have said and presenting them as some sort of alternative fact. So on that, Mr. Mayor, I'll conclude my remarks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Quigg. Councillor Hamdani, do you wish to reply? You don't have to.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, just for clarity, the amendments that were made with regards to the quotes from Hansard, there was nothing. The sentences that were left in were left in. So we just didn't quote the whole of a paragraph.
No, you took it out. So you could have one sentence and another sentence and miss the middle sentence.
Went over language that could re-traumatise someone.
No.
Where it was specifically political.
No.
Were following the statement from survivors that was read out previously, requesting that did not happen. Beyond that, if your main challenge seemed to be that was where you weren't happy, I hope that you would be satisfied with the principle of a statutory local inquiry as well as a national inquiry. And I hope that people can find it in themselves.
No. They've hidden the Pakistani. This needs to be voted down. They've hidden the racially motivated aspect.
So does Council agree the amendment? All those in favour? All those against?
Oh wow, they've accepted the amendment.
Motion is carried.
Wow.
So, sorry, amendment is carried. Thank you. We have a second amendment from call on Councillor Hoban to move and Councillor Haynes to second amendment.
Here we go. The liars. Convicted fraudster. Convicted fraudster.
Conservative group are adding to the distress of survivors by continuing to use this very delicate and serious issue for political purposes.
It is political.
May I request you? Let's take to please can I conduct the business? Please. Excuse me. Please can I? Please. Let's. We are in a quite serious mode. Let's talk to the motions and concentrate on that.
It is about the motion, Mr. Mayor. The original motion that the Conservatives put through didn't even mention survivors until point 7, almost at the very end. It's the independent councillors since 2019 that have been striving for this inquiry.
No, you've sold us out.
The parties jumped on the bandwagon, and it was independent councillors that crossed the line in July.
No.
So here we are. We have an independent inquiry in process, with the finer details of that still being worked on. And if we want it to be right for the survivors, if we want it to be robust enough to go as far as it needs with the scope that it needs, then we may need to accept that it cannot be rushed. We now know that there will be assistance from the Home Office and from a very experienced KC in commissioning the inquiry, and hopefully, maybe, it could have statutory powers. Yes, we also think a national inquiry is needed, but not at the expense of Oldham survivors. A national inquiry on its own, which the Conservative motion asked for, would just dilute what we need, and it could make Oldham all but a footnote on a much larger piece.
Liar! Liar! It won't!
Surely it's much better for our survivors to be heard and justice sought locally, and then that fed in to a wider national inquiry. In July, I said that once the inquiry was agreed by this chamber, the politics needed to be removed, and more now than ever, that process needs to be left to the professionals. Of course, we need to know that the survivors are at the forefront, and we need to be aware of the progress, but that can be done through the already established CSE all-party steering group. We also need to ensure that the inquiry is truly independent, so as politicians, we have no right to form the structure, propose the scope or the depth, or more learned people and survivors should be free to do that and take it wherever it needs to go. For obvious reasons, we have no sight of other party amendments until the last minute, and having now read the Lib Dem amendment and heard the debate as it is, I think that it gives us the independent local inquiry that we unanimously agreed in July in this chamber, and it includes our desire for a wider national inquiry by the government which could feed from the Oldham one and the others that are planned. This seems the most logical way of covering the scourge of CSA across the country. I'm nearly done. We need no more politicking, no more delay or distress for survivors. We need to consider the survivors and their safeguarding in everything we do now. We need all the background noise and the sniping on social media and elsewhere.
I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. You're not going to make me stop. You're not going to make me stop, you convicted fraudster.
Information, then they need to bring it forward to the inquiry once it's established. Then it will be time to put up or finally shut up. With everything that's said, with all that said, to allow the processes to move forward and for the survivors to move nearer to having their voices heard and the justice they deserve, I have supported the Lib Dem amendment to the motion, and with your permission, Mr Mayor, I will withdraw our amendment.
Oh, he's withdrawn. He's back down. He's backed down.
So Amendment 3.
He's back down. He's back down. He's back down.
Mr Mayor, honourable members and members of the public, I rise today to propose this amendment.
No, you don't have a voice, Rice.
Before us, but to strengthen it. We fully support the call for a national inquiry. Survivors and their families deserve nothing less than the full weight of the state uncovering the truth. We also acknowledge the Liberal Democrats' position that we must not lose sight of the local inquiry we have fought so hard to secure. This amendment does not remove or weaken a single word from the motion. It strengthens it by ensuring that the local inquiry is granted full statutory powers, so it has the authority to compel witnesses and evidence. An independent panel, not this council, who determines the terms of reference, ensuring fairness and credibility, survivors and key witnesses to be compelled to testify, removing any opportunity for silence or obstruction, new survivors and witnesses to be encouraged to come forward, ensuring no stone is left unturned. This is not about party politics, it is about justice. We cannot allow the focus to shift away from accountability. Justice is and must be blind. Blind to caste, colour, creed, race or religion. It must be served without fear or favour, without political convenience and without hesitation. For too long, those demanding justice have been accused of being far right or racist. I reject this framing and I reject these accusations outright. I stand before you today as a Pakistani Muslim. I am the deputy leader of the Oldham Group, a group of 8 Muslims, 7 of whom are Pakistani and 6 of whom are Pakistani males. We speak with one voice when we say justice must prevail. We, as British Pakistani Muslims, are not interested in statistics. Even one predator within our community is one too many. We shall not make excuses. We will not stand for silence. That is why we shall do what it takes here and within our communities to root out these criminals, to ensure that these vile predators who have tarnished the good name of British Pakistani Muslims across the country are eliminated from amongst us. But let me be absolutely clear. This is not just about one community. Child sexual exploitation has plagued villages, towns and cities across the United Kingdom. It has been carried out by the organised crimes of different backgrounds and covered up by individuals and institutions of all ethnicities. The victims were failed by police who ignored them, by social services that dismissed them, and by politicians who looked away. And while we must expose those failures, let us also acknowledge those within those institutions who served as whistleblowers, police officers, social workers and politicians, who fought for the truth against resistance, who raised the alarm, who demanded justice. Many of them were ignored. Some were silenced. But today, we will not be silenced. This amendment ensures action. It does not just call for a national inquiry, it demands that our local inquiry has real teeth, real independence and a real power to compel answers that we are seeking. And that is why I urge every single councillor in this chamber, regardless of party, to stand with us, support this amendment, support the national inquiry, support the local inquiry, and most importantly, support justice. This is not about headlines. It is not about political points. It is about making sure that no child in Oldham or anywhere in this country is ever failed like this again. Mr. Mayor, I urge one last time that all members unite behind this amendment and let us deliver the justice that has been denied for far too long. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kapoor. Councillor Kapoor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rise to second the amendment to the Conservative motion, but rather than focusing on the details, I want to address the language used by the Conservative group. Firstly, we'd like to reiterate our commitment to the local inquiry. The Oldham Group is clear and unwavering. We do not tolerate abuse of any kind against children, women or men. However, the Conservatives' motion specifically references Pakistani male grooming gangs. This phrasing appears to be a deliberate attempt to create division between communities. While we have left the language unchanged because, unfortunately, these crimes did occur in Oldham, We strongly oppose the generalisation of an entire community based on the actions of a few individuals, vile individuals. Sexual abuse is a deep-rooted issue that extends beyond one ethnic group. We want all cases investigated, all perpetrators punished, and all victims to receive justice, regardless of the background of those responsible. I could list countless examples of white grooming gangs here, including one as recent as yesterday in the news. But if we were to generalise, then what would you say about the case of Cyril Smith, a white Christian politician who led a ring of men exploiting children? Would we claim that all white Christian men are abusers? Or all politicians are abusers? Of course not. The same principle must apply here. Stop blaming communities and creating divisions. Let's call these inhumane people what they really are. Vile criminals. And these criminals are not confined to one sect, creed or religion.
But here they are. Here they are.
The failings in Oldham and other towns. But rather than using divisive rhetoric, we must ensure that everyone responsible, both perpetrators and those who enabled these crimes, are held accountable. That's why we are calling for a national inquiry with statutory powers. Only through a thorough and independent investigation can we truly understand the failures across our towns and boroughs. Our motion is comprehensive. It addresses the concerns raised by the Conservatives, by the Liberal Democrats and the Independents, making it one of the most strongest and more inclusive proposals that we here have tonight. I urge my colleagues in this chamber to please support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kapoor. Councillor Murphy, you indicated you wish to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I pretty much agree with everything you've said there, but unfortunately the amendment, there's parts in it that we feel that we can't support, but there's parts in it that we feel that we can.
So what can't you support?
Rather than rip it apart and talk about the parts that we can and take away the spirit of the motion, we kind of feel that the best way to do it is to abstain on it.
Wow, so they're cheating, they're lying, they're actually voting against it. Abstaining on child abuse. Abstaining on child abuse. Oh my God.
I think the tone has been slightly lowered by Councillor Hoban in his withdrawal. But let me remind you of the facts, Mr. Hoban. It was Councillor Hudson who seconded your very first motion on this matter.
Councillor Craig, are you speaking to amendment, please?
I am.
Please, speak to amendment, please.
I am. So that's a matter of fact, a matter of public record. And to the amendment by the Oldham Group, like I said, we agree with it, but we're not. I don't know what we're amending now. We're amending the motion as amended, so it isn't the original motion we're now amending. So just so I'm clear, because there's questions in my group on this.
Just to be clear, I'm sure Borough Solicitor will advise you better than me, but I understand.
No, I don't ask. Just through yourself, Chair.
Part of this council, so you can't. Substantive motion as is amended.
So we're now talking to the amended motion with an amendment to the motion. It's getting Donald Rumsfeld there. So, in terms of the Oldham Group's amendment, yes, we do welcome it because it strengthens it. But, Councillor Kapoor, we do have to acknowledge, whether we like it or not, and this is what has been raised in towns and cities across the country, that there has been a sensitivity around this, and cultural sensitivities, which has resulted in things not being discussed or uncovered, because essentially people have been branded racist because of it. So that's why we've included sections from the recent debate in Hansard. These are quotes, again, I keep saying this, these are quotes in their entirety for the relevant sections from Hansard in Parliament. I'm not there, they are there. These are established facts by what people have said, the Home Secretary, Shadow Home Secretary. But these are issues we must discuss. And I do not care whether it's you, Councillor Kapoor, is upset, but as you've rightly said, you want to root out this problem. Well, let's root it out, but we have to get to the root of it, which is that there is a problem in this country where there's a political problem, a cultural problem, and an institutional problem, where Pakistani heritage males have gotten away with crimes against young white girls. We cannot allow that to go unpunished, and it has gone unpunished.
You will have a right to reply.
So my point being is, while we do support the amendment, we will not shy away from uncomfortable truths and uncomfortable facts. That is what we have done, and that is why we stand by what we've said, and we'll continue to stand by what we've said. We won't be silenced by nobody in this chamber or outside.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Kapoor, you will have time to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wahid and Councillor Kapoor for your amendment, which we not surprisingly support fully. He made some very strong points. Unless you lived in a vacuum for the last 6, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, it's impossible not to be aware of discussions which are taking place. Those discussions are taking place on the floor of the House of Commons. It's not being done behind closed doors. It's not being done in committee rooms. It's been taking place in the House of Commons, and it's right that in context and in the time that we live in, that we should address the issue. And I don't think any of my colleagues would for 1 minute seek to demonise one particular group within our society, but there's an issue at the moment which people are discussing, and we reference that in our term. I agree 100% with you. I don't care if you're black, brown, yellow, orange, green, stripes, it means nothing to me. I don't care if you're Cyril Smith or you're Jimmy Savile or that creature who Smythe who worked for the Archbishop of Canterbury. You're all the same to me. You're all equally horrible people, and deserve everything that hopefully will come to you. So yeah, we spoke in a context of what is current, but there's no desire in any way from us to demonise and go for any particular one group of society. It's where we're at the moment. It's current, and it was referenced by us. I hope you'll accept that in the vein and in the manner that it's meant. But thank you for your amendment. We agree with it. We support it wholeheartedly. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Al-Hamdani, do you have a right to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the Oldham Group for their amendment. So if we were to accept the amendment, what would happen is that all the language at the start of the motion would go back to as it was, which was something we were seeking to avoid.
No.
I don't disagree with any of your additions to the thing.
No.
So, as my colleague suggested, our plan was to abstain on the motion. I did not expect our amendment to pass. I suggest that we write, regardless of the outcome of the vote, we intend to abstain still, but regardless of the vote, there is nothing on this that we would disagree with. I will put my name to a letter saying all of that.
Oh, so we've won.
And I think
oh dear.
I don't think anybody in the chamber would object
oh dear,
to that.
We've got
so
it.
I would like
now
to
it's up
that.
to the Labour Party. Let's see.
Sorry? So I am suggesting that we're going to abstain on the amendment, but I'd be happy to write a letter supporting all of these points and raising all of these issues, as was your intention.
Why would you abstain then?
Because the initial part of the motion would revert to what it originally was. So
no.
The things that we sought to change in the rest of the motion would be undone.
Oh my God, this is disgraceful. This is disgraceful.
How are we voting on an amendment to a motion which is now amended? We're amending it twice when it's not what we're originally debating. So none of us have got sight of the amended motion, which has now been amended again by the Oldham Group. So which bits are we talking about? It's unconstitutional, surely,
yes.
for us to vote on
so
that.
your motion
yes,
was amended by Lib Dem, and Lib Dem's motion becomes a substantive motion, which you all heard, and now they're amending that motion.
But that wasn't what they placed their amendment on. They placed it on the original motion, which has now been changed.
I'm satisfied that members heard the amendment, so they can decide whether they want to support that or not. They had the good discussion, and that
it's unconstitutional. And that bold scumbag there Bogotoff. Bent back door Bogotoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, just, it might be me being a bit thick. It's not unusual. Could I just get some clarity on what Councillor Al-Dami said? And I could be wrong. Councillor Al-Dami is under the impression that if the Liberal Democrats supported the Oldham Group's amendments, then the wording in the amended motion would revert to our motion. No, that's not my understanding. My understanding is, once the Liberal Democrat amendment was accepted, then that becomes the substantive motion. Yeah. So if the Liberal Democrat group supported the Oldham Group's amendment,
Go on, Dave.
it would be to their amended motion and not to ours. Once the Liberal Democrat amendment was... Mr. Bogotoff's looking up here like I'm up here. Once the Liberal Democrat motion amendment was accepted, that written became the motion. Okay. And that's what's... Am I correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
Right, okay. So once that had gone, we're gone then. We're out. There's no wording for us left.
You're not gone because you originally brought the motion.
Yeah, I know. Anyway. But that's the point. The reason that...
Sorry, yes, could we then get a point, as a point of order?
Yeah.
Would only the additions from the Oldham Group amendment happen and the rest of the text up to that point stay as we'd requested it?
It's a point of order.
It's a point of clarification, but it doesn't matter.
Councillor Hamdani, so your motion is now the substantive motion. So that's clear now. Okay. So what's your question?
So, would only the additions that have been suggested be added on to the end of our motion as it currently stands?
Yes. Yes, and we've won. Yes. Yes, and we've won.
The Oldham Group have placed an amendment, so we need to ultimately vote upon that, and it'll either be carried or not.
Can I have a point of order?
Mr. Mayor, this is getting very confusing. This is what I was trying to say.
That's what happens when people start cross-talking. Please,
no,
just
because
listen. Please, just kindly.
He doesn't know what he's doing, does he? Interim borough solicitor.
Have I not answered your question there?
No.
Right.
Can I...
So we have now got a substantive motion.
Yeah.
The Oldham Group have proposed a text with additions that is the Conservatives' original motion with some additions.
Yeah.
At the moment, if we vote for their amendment, do we get the Conservative text with the Oldham Group amendments, or do we get the Liberal Democrat motion and just the additions?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's stuck. Yeah. They're stuck. They're stuck.
At the end of the day, we're voting on the amendment of the Oldham Group. That's the position.
So, point of order. Right, let's not...
Can we have it's the full text. It's the full text.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. Could you please come out of legal context by Borough Solicitor, because we make it absolutely clear for members what we are exactly voting for. Like Councillor Amdani said, could he make it clear in plain English in terms of what we're voting on? Because your sort of language is just confusing the members.
Okay, let me explain and then you can confirm I'm right. Okay.
Thank you,
let
Mr.
me
Mayor.
explain what I understood, but I'm not constitutional expert, but I will ask that.
Yeah, like he's a constitutional expert.
We are voting on the amendment, which is fully written motion. If that amendment is carried, if Council votes for that, that becomes a motion. Am I correct to say?
Yes, that's correct. We need to deal with one amendment at a time.
Mr. Mayor, the problem is that the Oldham Group's amendment is based on Conservative motion language, so it's going to go back to what we originally put forwards, which the Lib Dems changed. So it's like we've gone from one to the other to go back again. So it doesn't make sense. How are we voting on some... That just seems silly.
So if this motion is being carried, I would suggest actually if this motion is carried, we would just go back to the original motion and then again vote on it. Yay! That's my understanding about
I didn't throw that.
The original Conservative motion has different language in.
No, but that's what the Oldham Group has based their amendment on, not the amended.
It has different language.
Yeah, but they're amendments to that.
But the,
Mr Mayor, so it is the Lib Dem motion with points 8, 9 and 10 added to it and the additional action. Is that correct? Or is it the Conservative motion with points 8, 9 and 10 added to it as printed? Would it go to as printed now we've got in front of us, or would it now be the Liberal Democrat motion with the points 8, 9, 10 and the additional one? That is all we're asking.
It's gone.
Essentially, your members here, you can decide whichever way you want. It's your motion, so you can have, by vote, you can have a full Oldham Council motions text, or Oldham Group text, full motion as it is, if you vote for it, or you can have a Lib Dem.
They've buckled. They've buckled.
Councillor Hamdani.
They've buckled.
If you want the Oldham Group, then simply vote for the Oldham Group's amendment. If you're satisfied with their full text.
In that case, if the Oldham Group would be happy with this, I would like to propose the Liberal Democrat text as far as it goes, with the addition of the Oldham Group's points for a vote on that.
Go on. We've won.
surely we can't just pick and choose which parts of amendments we're going to vote for going forwards, because we'll just do that in every council meeting.
Exactly. You either need to stick with your amended motion, which is currently the substantive motion, or we vote upon the Oldham amendment.
Mr Mayor.
No, it's the mayor to say.
It needs to be the full text.
Mr Mayor, yes, point of order.
This is someone who knew Daddy.
I don't know.
This is someone who knew Daddy.
The point of the matter is, right, the Oldham Group has proposed...
Can I have some silence, please?
Proposed an amendment. Now, if you vote for that, that gets passed. If it doesn't, then the Lib Dem amendment passes. So what's the issue? What's the confusion? There's no confusion in this chamber.
There is.
Sorry, Mr Mayor,
and I think
point of order, given
I
I
think
was
the Borough
to move it to the
Solicitor
original
tried to
motion.
explain that about 10 times.
No, he hasn't. Why is one of Daddy's mates so angry?
Amended. I think where the confusion lies is that, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not voting on the substantive motion, we're voting on the Conservative motion now, but it can't be amended at this point because we've not officially done that, because technically the Oldham Group's amendment has to amend my motion. Is that correct? You put your amendment in on the basis of my motion. Right, so that's why they put that amendment in. This is where the confusion now stems from, because they didn't put an amendment to the Liberal Democrat amendment, because you can't amend an amendment in this chamber, which you can in the House of Commons, according to Erskine May, but you can't in this chamber. So the point being, we're now talking about a motion that puts back the original text with the additional items to remove what the Liberal Democrat amendment put in. Is that correct? Oh, sorry.
So yeah, thank you. Sorry, can I have silence? Sorry, can I have a silence, please? Well, we do need to move on. I will give you. Sorry, do you want to?
Well, I'm going to my reply now. Yeah.
I'm just trying to sort of like understand which way we're going before
Maybe I
you give
might be
each
able
other.
to help. I don't know.
All right, go on. At least one helpful person. Go on.
Okay. Well. First of all, look. The biggest problem that I'm seeing here is that it's about language. Yeah. Everybody seems to have an issue about Pakistani grooming gangs, and quite honestly,
I don't have an issue.
It should not be an issue to divide us. Firstly, we shouldn't be using that term. But if you're going to use it, if anybody's going to use it, we should not use that to block or slow down the process of justice. So all these amendments that I've seen today are pretty much saying the same thing. So what I propose is that, you know, obviously we've got the Liberal Democrats that at the moment stand as the substantive motion. Procedurally, how are we, as the Oldham Group or anybody else, supposed to put in an amendment to an amended motion? We can't do that. So we are talking about a motion which we've amended that belonged to the Conservatives originally. So what I'm saying is, in regards to you, Councillor Hamdani, is that we didn't delete a single thing from the Conservative motion, not even a single word. We added.
Trying to give me a solution.
We added, yeah, well, I'll get there, don't worry. We added. So if we have all your amendments which you've done, fair enough. It's only about language, or whether somebody said Pakistani or somebody said something else. So if we have your amendments and ours, fine. Let's take it. But whatever we're going to do, let's do it unified. Let's not do it fragments of one way or fragments of a different way, and dilute this whole thing. Let's make sure this call
request we move to the vote.
Sorry, it's been moved to the vote. Any seconder to that? It's been moved to the vote, sorry. I think the rule is that if you've been moved to the vote, you can...
Are we going to debate the resolution then?
Yeah. Right, all those in the favour of amendment? Yeah, of course we can debate. I think, can I just clarify, especially for the public, if you're thinking this is happening here, this has all been discussed in group leaders meeting yesterday.
No.
Everyone has been appraised and everyone had everyone discussed that. So let's not create a drama here for the public. Somehow we discover something new. So in that note, Councillor Sykes, yeah.
The way around this, I mean, you're right, we did discuss it yesterday, and this is what some of us predicted would happen, because there's good bits and all. We're actually dancing on the head of a pin, because I think everybody in this chamber agrees. But as I understand it, and that's why I'm standing up to do this, this will put the words we've taken out in our amendment back in the motion. What you could do is suspend standing orders, you move your additional points, we'll second it, you tag that onto the end, everybody gets the words in. We've got something at the end that everybody could vote for. That might be a way forward, Mr. Murphy.
He's right.
Thank you.
He's 100% right.
I personally think it's a sensible approach. We do need to move forward. Are we allowed
Look at Bogotov whispering.
If so, all those in favour of suspending standing orders, please.
Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, we've won it.
In the standing order, so what you're suggesting...
So you can do what you were suggesting, which is move your additions.
Would you like to specify what additions you're moving, sorry?
It's in our amendment, yeah, they're all additions.
Are you happy with that?
There's nothing been taken away, yeah.
So we take, sorry.
We've won it. And I'll share with you once this is finished what we just did.
Sorry?
We've won it.
Amending the amended motions.
No, we've won it. Come on, just vote now.
Mr. Mayor, would it be
vote. Shut up, Beth. Come on.
The Oldham group just to tell us specifically which points they're adding
that's what I'm trying. Yeah. That's
Oh, come on, Beth. Shut up. We've won it. We've won it.
Supplementary bundle, everything that's in larger font.
We won it.
Bold and larger font.
Councillor Al-Hamdani, are you...
Points 1 to 5.
We won it.
I am seconding the proposal from the Oldham group to add all that additional text.
I'll give members a couple of minutes to just review those points so they can make up their mind, which is, I think, the fair way of doing things. In meanwhile, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just say, obviously, it's quite difficult, I think.
She won't be happy.
To do this in the chamber. Can I make a suggestion going forward? At group leaders, can you not composite your amendments? You have the discussion. You know what's being put forward, and it's so much easier to do it in advance. It's creating confusion, and I think, well, if you need to amend the Constitution, then
I think there's a broader issue, as Councillor Sykes said, about Constitution.
Can we be...
Oh, she's not happy. She's not happy.
What I'm asking for, Mr. Mayor, is we can be really clear, rather than just going through this in part, that the amendment that is being put forward...
Look at Mincy Boy! Look at Mincy Boy!
Clear on what they're voting on, please.
Look at Mincy Boy! Look at the state of him!
Councillor Al-Hamdani's council notes, the resolutions to change to Councillor Wahid's. Just, 1 second. So essentially what I think we're getting to is Councillor Al-Hamdani's motion notes,
I'm
the
gonna ask them to
resolutions
read.
change
I'm
the
gonna.
laws. Yes. Yeah. So, what we might propose to do, we can go and get a clean copy of that.
She wants to go and photocopy, which might try and have some backroom conversations.
We take 10-minute break. I'm going to get this copy printed of a proper, clear motion of this. Everyone can read it properly, so they can make informed choices. Thank you.
To the 1,564 of you here, my name is Raja Miah. I am a political campaigner, and for the last 6 years, I have been at the forefront of this campaign. They've tried to put me in prison repeatedly. They've smeared my good name and reputation in the media, in the mainstream press, including claiming I was arrested, maliciously fabricated that I was arrested for child sex exploitation. They've called me a liar, a thief, a racist, a far-right activist. I did not choose to be here. I did not choose to come here. I just could not look the other way when old men in my town, men, one who I respected, the other who was a nutcase, I hope you're having a drink in heaven, Warren Bates. Lewis and I are friends, we work together. I think that is very clear to all of you. Dave and I are friends. The Conservatives, at least half of them, work with me. I've openly campaigned for them, openly got them elected. Because they promised me they would stand with me on this. And they've kept to their word. So this is what we did. We put a motion in for the extraordinary council meeting that was all the way over here. As strong as it could be. And we gave them wriggle room to amend it to take away some of this or take away some of that, but in the end, pass a motion, the end game, pass the motion, we want a national inquiry. A local inquiry on its own isn't good enough. We want a national inquiry. We then knew the Lib Dems would mess about, being the liberals that they are, and 3 or 4 days ago I started on X. You heard them? Online agitators, this, that. Yes, you can call me what you want. I am a campaigner. I am here to campaign. I am a campaigner. There's a time for Maggie Oliver. It's afterwards. I'm the man who goes and kicks the door down and campaigns to get it on the table and get the resolution passed, and then I can go away. And then other people with other skills can come in. As for a keyboard warrior, everyone in this town will say to you, confirm, I have walked every street in this town. I have led from the front, not hiding behind a keyboard. I have walked on every street. I have fundraised, I have campaigned, I have knocked on doors, I've spoken to people. All of those things. What we did was put our position so extreme that they had to negotiate down, and we knew that they can't amend an amendment. We knew what was going to happen, and we've cornered the Labour Party now. One, they had to withdraw their amendment because they didn't want to be seen. Mincy Boy and Hoban didn't want to be seen to be blocking this. All on purpose. So they withdrew it. The Lib Dems were there. And if you joined me earlier, I said to all of you, we'll vote for the Oldham Group one. We'll vote for the Oldham Group one. And now in that council chamber, the Lib Dems and the Oldham Group with the Conservatives finally got it over the line. And now they're going away into another room to print up the Lib Dem bit with the Oldham Group at the end. And the Oldham Group bit at the end is clear. 1, we call for a statutory public inquiry. 2, we write to the government wanting the local one to have statutory powers. And 3, we go to Andy Burnham and write to him, making him issue a statement that he confirms a public inquiry. This is called, well, you decide. You decide if I am an online troll. You decide if I am, what was he called me? An online grifter. You decide if I am any of those things. We outmaneuvered them, and now we need the vote to go through, and it'd be interesting because the Labour Party now are trapped as well. Wait for the vote, and let's see what happens. In the meantime, to God knows how many of you are here, for the love of God, support me. Sign up to the newsletter. It's where I put all the content in a way where all of you understand it. It's completely free. This online grifter has risked his life to help get us this far. And I share all of my work for free. And all I ask is if you can afford to do so, spend 75 pence a week so I can keep that light on, keep this camera on, and keep doing what I'm doing, because at the first opportunity and at every opportunity, they will weasel out of this unless this pressure is kept on them. So let's see. Let's see him come back. And this would not have happened without all of you, because they know how many of you are here. They know it's not just me. They know we've got voices in the council chamber that they've tried to shut down. That's why I say we need numbers, and if we win in Oldham and we get this over the line this way, then we grow across the country and we win everywhere else, but we need numbers. The newsletter is my webpage. It's this. Sorry, I'm not good at this. I get emails all the time from people who are, for a fee are willing to help me do all of this social media thing. I've got no money for a fee. And the way this is working, I'm happy doing it this way. Doing my best. That's the newsletter. redwallandtherabble.co.uk. That's why, my friend. That's why. And why is the world watching? And people like you, I have no time for. I'm not interested in all the other stuff. You can say my MBE, somehow I'm part of the state and I'm carrying out a narrative. You don't know me, lad. You have no idea what I've been through. The only narrative I'm carrying out, mate, is making sure that the children of my country are protected, justice is delivered, and those responsible for committing the crimes and for covering up the crimes and failing the children are all held to account. Narrative my arse. Thank you, Graham. And thank you, Sally. People like Sally will say, they'll share with you the darkest times. I still wake up every morning sweating, concerned my door's going to be kicked in by the police. I still drive the long way around home when cars are too close to me. I can't take my daughter to the park we used to go to. That's one way of looking at it, mate. Thank you, Sophie. The world is watching. The world is watching. We're waiting for him to come back. It gets me angry, mate. It gets me angry. It gets me angry because I do have an MBE. I got that when I was 30 years old. In the last 5 years, they've tried to take it off me because I add it to everything, because it gives me credence and legitimacy in a way that they don't want me to have. Someone who's risked his life serving this country, who is awarded a medal for safeguarding communities, brings a certain level of credibility, and nothing they can say or do can take that away. So they tried taking the medal away, and they failed. Thank you, Tony. They've tried, and I think they've failed, because Tony Martin's there and Shah just walked in, and his quote is, "Face like a slapped ass." Thank you, Gareth. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andy. Didn't Lewis do well? Didn't Dave do well? Didn't Beth speak at the right time in the right way? Oh, wow. Wow. I'm sorry. Most people give me like £5, £2, £3. When something like that comes in, you can see my, I don't know what to say. Come on, get the vote in. Get the vote in. Because now if the Labour Party vote against it, everyone can see what's gone on. They're protecting the rape gangs. Thank you, Gillian. Thanks, Anne. And thank you, Paul. The longer this is taking, the more concerned I'm getting, because they're trying to mess around, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. If you're waiting and you're finding value, please, there is a newsletter. Do sign up. I'll tell you how many people have signed up. It's not many. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, mate. Whilst we're waiting, this is the link to Redwall and the Rabble. And if you have a mind to, this is the link to buy me a samosa, buy me a coffee. The Labour Party are messed up because I'm working this through as well. They've withdrawn their amendment that they've had Mincy Boy and Hobe in front. They've withdrawn it. Yeah. Mate, no one on the mainstream media will have me. Because of this. Because I'm focused, I'm forthright, and I'm honest. How many photocopies are they printing? No. Whatever you've done and the amount you've given, I'm grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And they've thrown Mincy Boy under the bus, haven't they? So Mincy Boy made reference to a CIC, a Rise CIC. It was a company I ran. It was a company I specifically set up when I was working for counter-terrorism, counter-extremism. I had contracts specifically with the Office for Security and Counter-Extremism, and I had to set something up through which we could deliver the work. Where I worked with convicted terrorists, I worked with jihadists, I worked with nutters who wanted to blow you up. There was no grifting going on. I was traveling the world putting my life at risk. Do you think Mincy Boy has ever put his life at risk? No one will have me. No one will have me, I'm afraid, so far. It will change one day. It will change one day. I know Charlie Peters was in Oldham today, meeting a whistleblower that I'd put him in touch with. A whistleblower I'd met. I didn't want to tell the story because I haven't got the reach. I'm not an internet person. I'm not a YouTube person. But the numbers, they serve a purpose. And that purpose is to get this over the line. And once we get this over the line, we'll all hopefully meet and have a samosa together. But there's a long way to go yet, because there's another step to do once we get this vote over the line, hopefully. Is anyone in the meeting? Tony, are you in the meeting? What's happening? Thank you, Lee. I'll do all of that. Thanks, May. I'm not sure. My thing doesn't carry the emojis across, I'm afraid. I agree, Jenny. It's the internet that saved us, hasn't it? And no, Anne, we're not the media now. We are the campaigners. Media just tell stories. We do more than just tell stories. We deliver the change. Well, I am. I believe that. It's not we are the media now isn't enough for what we do through the Recusant 9 platform. We're a campaigning platform. Thank you. I'm loving the names, by the way. I'm reading some of your usernames, and obviously I missed it. Indeed, 1,500 viewers on the 400 likes. Come on, people. There is no transmission on Sunday. I will, once this is finished, I'll finish. And I'll explain everything, because I need to go away, sit down, and I need to speak to Lewis and some of the others and understand a bit more. And I will come back tomorrow evening. I'll come back tomorrow evening and do a full debrief of what's been agreed and where we go next. But please, in the meantime, and I did light a candle. Thank you. They're trying to get round it, but they can't get round it. So let's see. Let's see. Yes, they're definitely having an offline argument. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Remember, he's in the background. He's in the background of all of this. Neither do I. Claire, neither do I. Come on, people, there's loads of you here, and I'm going to keep pushing. If you're finding value, there's a newsletter. It's what's got us here. This is what's got us here. A small group of us, and that's the platform through which I do my work. Completely free to sign up. Please sign up. Nothing stopping any of you. We need numbers. Those numbers need to go to 10,000 to get the national inquiry over the line. They just do. I know they do. Fingers crossed. It wouldn't be the first time, brother. It wouldn't be the first time, Alfie. Burnham absolutely hates me. I have it in good authority. He absolutely hates me. "20 years in public service. Working at a senior enough level where I've sat in rooms with multiple world leaders, including successive prime ministers. I am Northern, I am working class, and I've come back to my hometown. Which is why I believe in a higher power. I was meant to come back here. I was meant to do this. Burnham will indeed be worried. Come on, they've had the 10 minutes. They've had the 10 minutes. Yeah, Burnham does know I know. Thank you, Matt. Matt didn't believe what I said originally. He thought I was crazy. He apologises. You can buy me a drink when we meet, mate. I apologise, you were right. I have experienced how corrupt the council is and how they silence those who try to speak out. Mate, I didn't believe myself first, if it's any consolation. Thank you, Joseph. It means everything. £2. Some people send me £1 in PayPal. I'm happy. It all adds up and it makes a difference to me. Honestly, it makes a difference to me. It is. But it's okay. I doubted myself. It wouldn't surprise me if they've run out the back door. Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much. And that's what it hurts me. I banned someone earlier in the chat and they were starting talking about remigration and sending us all back. Where on earth are you going to send me back to? Where on earth are you going to send people like me back to? There is a genuine far right and we won't allow them to hijack this, which is all of us caring about children. So those who are genuinely with those really, views, what are you doing here with me? Yeah, Mincy Boy who stood up and Brian Hoban who stood up were both betrayed us. Both betrayed us. Good luck with your Million Women March, Elaine. Sorry, I will put it up. I wanted to get there, but I'm away with my daughter. You've done it over half term. And I only have her. In fact, I very rarely get to go away with her in the way my arrangements work. And she's been looking forward to our... We're going on a train journey and a sequence of train journeys all the way up to Tuesday. Otherwise, I would have been there. Thank you. Thank you. Agreed. Thank you. John Thingy. Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Agreed, brother. Agreed. It's looking that way, isn't it? They don't want to come back in and vote. I would not be here if it wasn't for the kindness of strangers. And even when I gave up on myself, there are people here such as Gary, Julie, who did not give up. And I had to keep going because of these people. Let me make a phone call, see what's going on. Sorry, mate. It's coming back on. All right. Well, I'm looking. No one's come back in yet. I'd have come back in. I'll do it like this. Here we go.
Please take a seat. Thank you very much, everyone. Let me just explain you what has happened so far. So we are been following Constitution, which has been written by members of this chamber. Councillor Sykes' helpful suggestion helped us to suspend the council rules. That means that we can build consensus. Hopefully that will help and deliver the better outcome. So on that note, that motion is being rewritten. Ask Councillor Hamdani to move and Councillor Wahid to second it.
Come on! Come on!
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as people have in front of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wahid?
I'd like to second that, thank you.
Okay. All
Come
those
on!
in favour?
Oh yes! Come on!
All those against?
Come on!
Any abstention?
Come on!
I'm really delighted that this motion is being carried by full
Come on!
membership, and that shows you the commitment of all members. It's taken too long, probably, for us to get to this stage, but thank you to all of you. That shows that we all care about our children, about our vulnerable people. Thank you for calling for this extraordinary meeting as well. It's not for political points going for everyone. This is for the residents of Oldham, and I hope that this motion will bring the right outcomes and people will get justice, but also in the future, this would not happen again. Thank you very much to all. We will take a short break and reconvene in 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
No. This council did not all vote because they wanted to vote that way. This council got manoeuvred, bullied, played, use whatever phrase you want. We campaigned. We campaigned in a way this country has never seen before. And to my friends in towns and cities across the country, Bradford, wherever, this is what we can do. And I've made a promise to every one of you. I will be there. Get in touch with me and I will be there. Let this amended thing come out. I'll get it. I'll make sense of it and I'll come back and we will then share what we do next, because there is another 2, if not 3 hurdles yet. I now call upon the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, the official leader of the opposition. I now call upon Nigel Farage, Richard Tice, Rupert Lowe to hear what has just happened in Oldham. We have told the Home Secretary, no, you will not get away with a local inquiry. We want a full statutory inquiry and we want a national public inquiry. So the town you have selected to lead your cover-up has said to this government, no, we will no longer be manipulated. We will no longer look the other way to the grooming and gang rape of our children. And our nation's children matter. We will not compete with other towns to be on a short list of 5, because every child in every town, every village, every city matters. It is now for the official opposition, the Conservatives in government, it is now for reform to stand up and use this and run back, go back into Parliament and force this through. And as always, if I can be of any assistance, you need only call me, as you have been doing in the past. Yeah. If you take value in my work, please consider subscribing to my newsletter, Red Wall and the Rabble. It is 100% free. It is how I share all of my content. If you're already subscribed and don't want to subscribe, you can buy me a coffee using the links. And at the very least, you can like and share. Today was a good day.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.